The master thief Arsène Lupin confidently enters the largest museum in Paris. He hands the museum director a mysterious envelope. Inside is a letter, clearly outlining the details of his next heist. When the director sees the signature of Lupin, his expression turns to shock. Because this isn't just any thief, Lupin is a nightmare for the rich and powerful. And what makes him more terrifying? He's never once failed. This time, he vows to steal a priceless black pearl worth $2 billion. And he even sets the time, 10 p.m., 3 days from now. The director wastes no time and calls in the best special ops unit in the country. Because this pearl isn't just a gem. It's a national treasure and a symbol of pride. There's absolutely no room for mistakes. But somehow, the contents of Lupin's letter get leaked. The media explodes with headlines about the upcoming heist. Soon, the entire country is buzzing about Lupin's daring plan. And just like that, he becomes a modern legend, admired by the public. Some fans even set up countdown clocks, waiting for the big moment. Meanwhile, elite agents stand guard over the pearl, watching every corner. Then, the countdown ends, and nothing happens. People start thinking the whole thing was just a publicity stunt. But suddenly, an alarm goes off inside the grand hall, right where the black pearl is being kept. Police flood into the scene. They thoroughly inspect every special ops member present. But nothing seems out of the ordinary. Until the director notices something odd on the security monitors. A guard is calmly opening the emergency exit. He's trying to escape through the side stairwell. And the only one who knows the code is the director himself. Unless that guard is actually Lupin. The team rushes toward the stairwell in pursuit. Meanwhile, Lupin, dressed in casual clothes, heads for the exit. He smoothly unlocks the final door, just seconds from freedom. But then, Special Agent Vincom appears out of nowhere. He lunges and tackles Lupin to the ground. "You're mine now." No escape this time. Under flashing lights, Lupin is dragged into a police van. Yet the crowd outside doesn't boo, they cheer. They don't hate Lupin. They admire him. Voices ring out in unison, "Let Lupin go." In an instant, he's hailed as a hero of the people. But here's the twist, nothing went wrong. Everything was part of Lupin's master plan. 3 days ago, he approached his old friend Tom. And Tom was no ordinary friend, he was leading the Pearl's security team. Together, they plotted a performance worthy of an Oscar. Their base of operations? A hidden chamber under the museum's front statue. Tom used his rank to convince the director to reset all the passcodes. Meanwhile, Louis, another teammate, went undercover as a special ops guard. He blended into the security team and slipped into the hall housing the Black Pearl. While everyone remained on high alert, Louis seized the perfect moment to grab the Black Pearl without being noticed. According to plan, Tom pretended to arrest him and escorted Louis straight into a fake police van, driven by their accomplice, Bengami. Just like that, the crew made a clean getaway right under everyone's noses. "We actually did it," one of them exclaimed in disbelief. To avoid being tracked, Lupin ditched the van mid-route and climbed up through a drainpipe onto a rooftop. From there, he carefully tried to escape the swarm of pursuing officers. But Lupin had no idea that a sniper had already locked on to his position. Suddenly, police turned their weapons on him. With nowhere to run, he prepared to leap across a massive street below. A body crashed to the ground, someone had fallen from the rooftop. Soon after, Inspector Charlie, Lupin's longtime nemesis, arrived on the scene. All that remained was a pool of blood and Lupin's iconic hat. Charlie's instincts told him something wasn't right. Eyewitnesses confirmed that the man who fell was indeed Lupin. Due to critical injuries, Lupin was rushed to the hospital. Charlie didn't waste a second, he rushed there too. He refused to believe that a master thief like Lupin would die from a fall. But when he arrived, the sight in front of him was chilling. In the morgue lay Lupin's lifeless body. A young doctor reported that he'd died instantly from internal bleeding in the lungs. Falling 16 stories and hitting the ground at full speed, no one could have survived that. "It's tragic, but inevitable," the doctor said. Still, the Black Pearl was missing. Which only deepened Charlie's suspicions. While puzzling over the case, a headline caught his attention. A news photo of Louis in the morgue was published, oddly, before Charlie had even seen the body himself. Strangely, every exclusive story about Lupin's case came from the same outlet. And from the same reporter, a young black woman. Suspicious, Charlie decided to confront the journalist. But she claimed the tips weren't hers. She had actually bought them from an anonymous source. And had no idea where they really came from. With Louis's funeral fast approaching, Charlie knew time was running out. If he didn't act fast, the truth might be buried for good. So he made one final move, at the gravesite itself. Charlie interrupted the burial, demanding the coffin be opened for a final inspection. Lupin's wife objected, but as the man had been a criminal, the priest reluctantly agreed to open the casket. Inside lay Lupin, pale and still. With no signs of life, Charlie turned and quietly walked away. The priest resumed the ceremony. Friends and family wept. Lupin was buried deep beneath the earth. But just seconds later, the truth unraveled. This entire death had been staged, planned 2 weeks in advance. Lupin's true goal? To vanish forever and escape the police. That rooftop fall? Just a clever illusion. Even the morgue doctor was a member of Lupin's crew. He had everything set up before the police even arrived. Lupin knew for sure that Charlie would have the autopsy done. So he had already dug a tunnel beneath the coffin for a clean escape. And just like that, the crew vanished, along with the $2 billion black pearl. But just when Lupin was about to sell the pearl in secret, a single voicemail shattered the plan entirely. It was a voice he hadn't heard in 25 years, his mother. She begged him to meet her at a church or her life would be in danger. Forced into a corner, Lupin had no choice but to show up. As he arrived, a phone hidden under the table began to ring. His mother's voice came through, urgent and direct. She demanded he surrender the black pearl, or else someone would die. Lupin hesitated, but she began to hum a lullaby only she knew. That was all the proof he needed. He gave up the black pearl. But of course, the criminals weren't satisfied. Now they wanted him to steal a famous painting within 3 days. A masterpiece worth $15 million. And if he failed, they'd kill the hostage. While the mob boss was distracted with a card game, one of Lupin's allies broke into his private garage. There sat a rare, customized supercar. Worth over $3 million. The thief activated a device in his hand. With a few beeps, the car unlocked. He sped off, vanishing before anyone could react. By the time the mob boss realized it, it was already too late. Later, the car was handed over to Lupin. But instead of selling it on the black market, Lupin returned it to its furious owner. Strangely, he wasn't trying to profit, he was playing a much deeper game. The mob boss, however, wasn't so easily fooled. He had no reason to kill Lupin, yet. Instead, he made Lupin pick an ace card from a full deck. If he picked wrong, he'd be shot on the spot. But Lupin had already prepared a trick, his signature, shedding skin move. Using the bathroom as an excuse, he slipped away into the boss's bedroom. And there it was, the painting he was sent to retrieve. But it was under heavy guard. How was he supposed to get it out? As he pondered his next move, inspiration struck. 2 days later, the mob boss gathered his crew for a daring bank truck robbery. They were after an enormous sum of money. With a car, the painting, and now this loot. They'd be set for life. As the gang discussed how to split the money, Lewis voiced a critical concern. If the armored truck was hit downtown, police would be swarming the scene in under 2 minutes. Even gods couldn't escape that fast. So they'd need someone outside to help with the getaway. Only then would they stand a chance. Naturally, Lewis was the best man for the job. And just like that, the escape plan was in his hands. Just as Lewis predicted, everything went exactly according to plan. Early the next morning, the gang loaded up the stolen goods and prepared to flee. The mission had been a success, and the painting they needed was among the loot. Following the plan, they transferred the cash from the armored truck into their own vehicle. But when they saw the decoy item they'd left behind, they were all stunned. It was too late to change course, they had to keep going. And just as expected, police swarmed in the moment they exited the tunnel. But Lupin had anticipated this exact moment. They dashed into an automatic car wash nearby to hide. "Trust me, everything's under control," he assured them. "Take off your masks and act like regular customers." Conveniently, the fake paint sprayed on their getaway car the day before began to wash off. And just like that, they drove out, right past the police. But when they reached their safe house, the mob boss revealed his true colors. Things had gone too smoothly, and that made him suspicious. So he reverted to his old games, making Lupin pick the biggest card from a fresh deck. With Lupin's life hanging by a thread, the tension was unbearable. Luckily, Lupin had swapped the deck earlier with one rigged to release knockout gas. As he slowly pulled a card, a thick cloud of gas burst from the box. "Don't move. What are you trying to pull?" someone shouted. But Lupin had already grabbed the painting and slipped away. Following protocol, he brought the painting to the meeting point for the exchange. But once the criminals had the painting, they broke their promise. Instead of freeing Lupin's mother, they made him wait for further orders. But Lupin had anticipated their betrayal. He had secretly planted a tracking device inside the painting. Sure enough, the tracker led him straight to a house on the main square. Without hesitation, Lupin rushed in. Inside, the criminals calmly pulled out a phone. "Son, I'm okay. Don't do what they say," his mother's voice pleaded. But it was too late to back out now. Lupin had to press on. This time, their demand was even bolder: steal a ruby bracelet. A royal heirloom valued at $80 million, always worn by Princess Anna. She was scheduled to attend a royal banquet in 5 days. That would be Lupin's only window of opportunity. But stealing from a royal in front of an entire court? It wasn't just difficult, it could trigger an international crisis. Still, to save his mother, Lupin was willing to risk it all. He asked his friend Benjamin to create a perfect replica of the ruby bracelet. Then, on the day of the banquet, he sabotaged the car of the royal stylist. Disguised as the designer duo, Lupin and Benjamin infiltrated the event. They gained close access to the princess. But the hardest part was yet to come. Lupin had exactly 10 seconds while helping the princess change to swap the bracelet. He had to be swift, flawless, and invisible. But just as he was about to pull it off, the princess stepped forward to greet a friend. And the bracelet slipped from her wrist, falling to the ground. According to their escape plan, whoever got the bracelet would head into the maze behind the palace. Lupin had already created a secret exit at the maze's edge. But strangely, less than a minute later, the entire area was surrounded by police. How did the police get here so quickly? Had someone tipped them off? There was no time to think. Benjamin sprinted into the maze. He followed the prearranged path, heading straight for the exit. With police closing in, Benjamin pushed forward with everything he had. But just as he neared the final turn, he came to a dead end. Looking across the maze, he spotted Lupin watching him silently. In that moment, he realized, the man he called his best friend had betrayed him. The truth was, the ruby bracelet wasn't the target this time. The criminals wanted Lupin to frame Benjamin and have him locked away. Their goal was to destroy Lupin's reputation and his loyalty. Meanwhile, Inspector Charlie was desperate to solve the case. He practically begged for help, nearly dropping to his knees. Seeing Charlie's sincerity, Benjamin finally spoke. "I'll tell you everything. He's on Ong Street, right across from the Calache Cemetery. If you want to question him, you'd better bring a shovel." Charlie thought the trail ended there. But back at the office, Lupin appeared, right in front of him. He had come to ask Charlie for help. Because deep down, Lupin knew Charlie was someone he could trust. Charlie, on the other hand, reached for his handcuffs, thrilled at the chance to become a hero. Catching Lupin would be the ultimate trophy. But Lupin had another idea. He wanted to team up. Together, they could expose the mastermind and retrieve the stolen treasures. He wasn't doing this for himself, it was all to save his mother. Because once the painting was sold, her life would be in danger. That's why Lupin needed Charlie's help now more than ever. He swore that once his mother was safe, he'd surrender himself to the police. Recover the stolen artifacts and arrest the thief? That sounded like a win-win. Charlie agreed eagerly. They headed to see Sela, an underworld broker for stolen art. Sela, ironically, lived right next to a police station. Together, Lupin and Charlie pushed and persuaded, sometimes sweet-talking, sometimes threatening. Eventually, they convinced Sela to cooperate. After all, no black market deal ever happened without going through him. And now, Sela held the keys to their next move. Charlie's role? The most important of all. He would pose as Riggin, a legendary stolen art collector. No one had ever seen Riggin's face, but his reputation was feared and respected. Lupin had originally planned to go himself, but the criminals already knew his face. So with some masterful disguise work, Charlie became Riggin. The perfect persona for the perfect sting. Soon enough, Sela confirmed, the gang had reached out to sell the stolen painting. Charlie rushed to the meeting alone. Don't be fooled by his stiff appearance, he played the villain surprisingly well. Mr. Riggin offers 17 million euros. Take it or leave it. But this painting is worth 50. This is the black market. Don't waste my time. If you don't like the price, find someone else. Fine. 25 million. Sorry, 20's the best I can do. Okay. But the moment the criminals walked away with the cash, sirens blared and the police swarmed in. That's right, Lupin had secretly tipped them off. Charlie had played his part perfectly. Panicking, the gang grabbed the money and rushed back to their hideout. But this was all part of Lupin's brilliant trap. He quietly followed them to their lair. What he didn't expect was who the real mastermind was. It was someone from his past, a childhood friend named Din. Lupin stared at the wall, eyes widening as he recognized the man behind his mother's kidnapping. His gut sank. Din, once his closest friend, had turned into a cold-blooded criminal. The very same Din who had become a notorious thief. But it wasn't just about rivalry. This was personal. Not long ago, Lupin had orchestrated the arrest of Din's girlfriend. To make matters worse, the 20 million euros returned to Din was counterfeit. Enraged, Din turned to his most trusted assassin. And gave a chilling order, kill Lupin's family. The hitman began tailing Lupin's wife to a shopping mall. Ready to strike. But what he didn't know, Lupin was watching from the third floor the whole time. And just as the assassin let his guard down, Lupin used a voice changer to call his wife without revealing he was alive. He couldn't risk her knowing the truth. Then, a plan sparked in his mind. He slipped a women's bra into the assassin's bag without him noticing. Then called his wife, urging her to exit through the front doors. As the assassin gave chase, security alarms blared, beep, beep. Store guards tackled the man, believing he was shoplifting. Meanwhile, Din prepared to deal with Lupin's mother. But when he entered the holding room, he found a shocking scene. She wasn't climbing out a window, she was hiding under the bed. And while he checked the window, she quietly slipped out the front door. By the time he realized she was gone, it was too late. Furious that the assassin failed, Din's temper exploded. Blaming everything on his own man, he struck when no one was looking. And pushed the hitman off a balcony. But miraculously, the assassin survived. And once he woke up, he spilled everything to the police. That same day, police uncovered major clues about the stolen treasures. Now free, Lupin's mother knew the truth. The only person who could protect her now was her son. But how could she possibly find him in a city of 50 million? It felt like finding a needle in a haystack. So she turned to the press for help. And was surprised to find a familiar face, Lupin's favorite reporter. The same journalist who had been covering his every move. Using the secret way she once used to contact Lupin, the reporter helped his mother post a coded message. The message pointed to a secret meeting, on the steps of Master Square. But shortly after, the reporter informed Inspector Charlie about the rendezvous. When Lupin showed up in disguise to meet his mother, Charlie was already there. This time, Charlie was determined Lupin would not escape again. But as Charlie reached the square, he realized Lupin wasn't heading toward the meeting point. Instead, he was walking toward the subway station. It was all part of a mother-son secret code. Lupin's mother used her singing in the station to guide him to a new meeting spot. After 25 years apart, mother and son finally reunited with a long embrace. Moments later, they boarded a train, just before Charlie arrived. But while they reunited, Din made his move. He broke into Lupin's home, where his wife was hiding. In a moment of panic, she called their home landline and recorded a voicemail, pretending to talk to their son. "Mom has to work late tonight. I won't be home. I've already called the police. An officer will come stay with you." Hearing this, Din panicked, thinking the house wasn't empty, and fled. Little did he know, it was all a bluff. After that close call, Lupin decided to stop hiding. He returned home and apologized to his wife and child. For now, they took refuge in a cramped safe house. It wasn't much, but it was enough for the family to be together. And really, what's more valuable than that? His wife even bought train tickets, planning for the family to move far away and start fresh. They dreamed of a quiet life, off the grid. Lupin agreed, on the outside. But deep down, he knew something wasn't right. As long as Din was alive, they would never be safe. That fear was written all over his face. His mother saw it too, and decided to help him bring Din down. In secret, the two of them set their final plan in motion. Lupin disguised himself as a seasoned officer and snuck into a party hosted by the police commissioner. As the event got underway, Lupin used the excuse of going to the bathroom to slip into the commissioner's office. But before he could open the door, a guard called out to him. Thinking quickly, Lupin claimed he was lost and turned to leave. Right then, his mother, disguised as a server, dropped a tray, creating a perfect distraction. Lupin took the chance, broke into the office, and opened the safe. Inside, he found a phone and stuck a chewed piece of gum on it. Then, his mom claimed she'd seen someone enter the commissioner's office. She warned the guard to be alert. The guard remembered Lupin had never left, and the door was now locked. He immediately called for backup and sealed the exits. In the chaos, Lupin's mom retrieved the marked phone from a side exit. Then the two escaped down into the sewers, riding away on a hidden speedboat. With the commissioner's phone in hand, Lupin placed a call and made a demand: release someone from prison. Because that phone contained evidence of the commissioner's corruption. And with that leverage, the commissioner had no choice but to agree. He didn't even hesitate, he gave the order immediately. Everyone assumed Lupin was asking for Benjamin's release. But to everyone's surprise, the person released was Din's girlfriend. Lupin had a different plan in mind this time. He offered her a deal to testify against Din. And to his surprise, she agreed. With her help, they arranged a final meeting with Din on top of the Arc de Triomphe. At the same time, Lupin tipped off Inspector Charlie with all the details. The location, the time, the transaction. Din showed up, expecting a buyer for the Black Pearl. But instead, he came face to face with Lupin. Enraged, Din immediately lashed out. His anger traced all the way back to 25 years ago, when the three of them were just kids watching the World Cup final. Din had pressured Lupin and Benjamin into robbing a jewelry store. They had no experience, and Benjamin was quickly spotted by police. As they were about to be caught, Din lost control and told Benjamin to kill a cop. "If you don't, then I will kill you." Before anyone could act, disaster struck. They crashed into a parked car and the plan fell apart. Lupin grabbed Benjamin and ran, leaving Din behind to face the music. He was sentenced to 25 years for robbery and assault. And after all those years, he came back seeking revenge. Right when Lupin had just stolen the Black Pearl. That's how this entire saga began. Din's twisted sense of justice had been brewing for decades. He blamed everyone but himself for what happened. But Lupin didn't bother to argue. He calmly told Din that the police were already on their way. "Give me the pearl," he said. "And I'll take the fall for everything. You can either keep it and go back to prison, or hand it over." Just then, the police swarmed the rooftop. Din froze, weighing his options. Eventually, he handed the pearl to Lupin. But when he tried to escape using another route, he was blocked by officers waiting in ambush. It was over. There was no way out. But Din had forgotten one thing. Just yesterday, he'd tried to kill his own teammate. As for the pearl, Lupin had hidden it inside a rose. He handed it off to a tourist nearby, who walked calmly past the police. Then one of Lupin's friends accidentally asked for the rose back. And just like that, the $2 billion Black Pearl was gone. Strangely, Lupin didn't try to escape this time. Because after everything, Lupin knew it was time to face the consequences of his actions. Before surrendering, he made one last request: release his best friend, Benjamin. Then, he confessed everything. The next day, his family waited at the train station, but Lupin never showed up. Just when it seemed the story had reached its end. To make you fall into my trap and slowly learn to trust me. The value of a film lies in its fame. And that brings our story to an end.